Hello everyone, Exodus here, welcoming you to the Ultimate Game Adventure's Dream. Interview with the developer. This is my first time doing this. So anyway, this is a new concept in order to allow not only myself, whom plays the games, but all of you as well to know the main developers or masterminds behind some of your favorite indie games. That actually sounds pretty good when you read it. Today, being the first interview, and because this person totally did not suggest it, it totally does not sound like I'm reading a frickin' script. I have the person whose humor is riled by no known creature. Yes, it's true, you're funnier than hell, man. Whose compassion for not only games, but streamers and content creators soars beyond the skies, and whose games have saved my YouTubing ambition. I present Crankage Games.
Hello. Hi. This is Crankage Games.
Okay, well.
Thank you for having me.
No problem, man. No problem.
I'll collect my paycheck and be on my way.
Yeah, that's pretty much the way this is gonna go. I'll send you a IOU, probably for about 15 cents.
That's
and a kick in the nuts.
It's about what I make on a daily basis. So.
You're doing better than me, sir. Unless I go to Walmart and look at the ground and pick up pennies.
Oh,
right. So. We got Crankage Games here. This is all new. I'm done reading a script. We're just going to go ahead and have fun, converse a little bit, ask him some questions that I'm personally curious about. We tried to get questions from other people, but they pretty much burnt them up on the previous tweets. So, you ready, man?
I am ready.
Okay, let's kick it off simple, smooth, and clean. Unlike the first time getting laid. Anyway. Let's take a look at your past a little bit. Okay. You started out. Let's say. Let's connect. Just before you got into developing games. What was you? What were you? What kind of person were you? I know. Loaded question, huh?
Yeah. I suppose. I mean...
Let me help you a little bit.
Yeah.
Your MMA background, for example.
Okay. All right. Well, I started training when I was 13. It was something, that I really, really wanted to do with my life. And, and I could only train on and off because I just had injury after an injury. There was a point in my life where... I got injured really bad with my back. I ended up with 4 ruptured discs. Yeah, it was pretty brutal. And then after that, I rehabbed my way back up and started training again. And then I got sick really bad with pneumonia.
Ooh.
And then I got better after a couple of months of not being able to train. Got better, went back. Not too long after that, I was able to train for like about 6 straight months, and then more pneumonia. I've got a fairly weak immune system, so and I was overtraining because everything I do, I definitely do way too much. I get really, really into things.
Sure.
So it was something that I was at the gym 6 days a week. I was there 8 hours a day. I just overdid everything all the time.
Yeah.
So it leads to injuries. It leads to getting sick, and then you end up out of the gym for months at a time. And especially if you're me and you stay sick.
Yeah, and then you're paying for it in the long run. Sure, I totally relate to that. I mean. I'm a bow fisherman, and so we start at 6 in the morning and we go till 10 at night, all day long, shooting, no food breaks, nothing. So, trust me, I understand. And that whole immune system thing, I honestly, never pictured you being kind of the sickly type. To be honest, I mean, you're pretty prominent as far as a human being's concerned. Like your voice is always strong, your attitude's always strong. It's kind of hard to picture you getting sick.
I mean, oh man, I get sick every year. Yeah, every year I get sick for the last actually this last year I didn't get pneumonia. I was very surprised. I was sure I was going to get it because the 3 years prior I got it every year. Um, so yeah, but yeah, I essentially I it was just injury after injury. I remember my first injury happened when I was 13. I got my elbow and arm hyperextended.
Oh,
Um,
ouch.
yeah, that wasn't good.
Those are sore for days.
Mm, yeah, I mean, it still gives me problems to this day.
Oh,
Yeah. You know, but anyways, then the ruptured disc thing. The worst injury that I had that put me out the longest was took a really bad shot. I was overseas. I was in Scotland training,
yeah. Whoa.
and at a new place. I didn't want to miss any training while I was away on vacation, and went to a gym. Great group of people, everything, but yeah, just freak accident, and I ended up my spine actually hyperextended.
Your
And
spine.
yes, according to the doctors, the doctor
They put you in full Nelsons or something?
no, it was it was a very freak accident. I've sparred just hundreds upon hundreds of times with never having any issues at all, and it actually happened in sparring and not grappling and stuff. So it was a weird thing, and the first hit, I felt my back tweak a little bit, and then I remember my partner was like, "Are you all right? You want to keep going?" I was like, "Yeah, I'll push through it." And then happened again, and my back tweaked again, and my back tweaked, and it just kept happening. And on the third time, I was like, I think something's really wrong. And what ended up happening was my muscles on the last one, my muscles clamped all the way around my spine to prevent it from snapping.
Oh.
And yeah, and I ended up once it clamped tight enough, I ended up paralyzed from the neck down.
Whoa, that there is scary shit.
Yeah, and that's basically where it stayed for a few months. And
how old were you about then? Because you said you went to Scotland, right?
yeah, let's see, how old was I at that time? Let's see, I've been there twice. The first time was 18. The second time was in my early 20s. I think it was when I was 18. I was either 18 or 19 when it happened. And it was brutal because my my muscles were tightening as I was trying to. It happened almost immediately, but it just got worse and worse and worse and worse. And there was no elevator, and the gym was located up. I don't even remember how many flights of stairs, but it was awful.
And no
and I had
elevator.
to make it. Yeah, and I had to make it down, and then I had to get on a bus that was throwing everybody about. And
To go to the hospital?
Yeah. Well, that day I actually went and saw doctors. The medical system in the UK is actually very good, I thought. They took me in, no problem. Yeah, I liked it. It was cool. And they were very helpful the same day and everything, and really got me the attention that I needed. And then it was from there. I was basically in bed, couldn't move for a couple of months, and very slowly was able to work movement back into my limbs and be able to
Function.
Function, walk, simple walking.
That's some brutal stuff.
It was scary.
Yeah.
It was very scary because and the worst part about it too, I think, was that not only was it scary because I didn't have function of my body, but it also, it wasn't like it was numb. I could feel everything. It was incredibly painful.
Oh.
Very, very, very painful, and I couldn't move. You know,
Okay.
and I
Best
was
way to
able
describe it to everybody listening: locked in syndrome.
Okay.
You're locked in. Your brain is functioning and firing. Everything is working, but your body is unresponsive. You can feel, you can breathe, but you can't act. It's like one of the most horrifying things possible. So I don't mean to interrupt, but just kind of elaborate to the extremity of it, because that's an extreme injury, man.
Oh yeah,
That's
it was not a good time.
Yeah.
Would not recommend.
No.
And
Unlike,
and you know, and I didn't, honestly, at the time I didn't know if I was ever going to be able to move my body again. I didn't know. And then when it started to come back a little bit, and you know, things were starting to work, I didn't know how much, because at the time, as I started to gain some movement back and stuff, I could only move an inch at a time, and it was incredibly painful to even move that inch. So it wasn't even worth it, you know.
right.
And yeah, so luckily though, things did get better. And I was able to make very, very small movements until I was able to make medium movements, and then large movements,
Sure.
and then
Onward,
and then
upward.
yeah, and then after a while of relaxing and not training at all, I decided, instead of going back to MMA immediately, I'm going to go to regular gym, start lifting weights, and then I got a workout routine from a guy that my brother did tattoo work on, who's fought in the UFC. He's, veteran, been around a long time.
Legit badass.
Sure, yeah, and he he wrote down this workout routine that focuses a lot on your core, and and my brother and I went to the gym together, and that's what we did, and it helped so much. It was like, I had never felt better in my life, as much as I had after doing this for a few months.
Right.
And it strengthened my core. It strengthened all of the necessary things that you need to strengthen if you've got an injury like that. And for the first time in my life, I was pain free. Even with
Right.
I was in pain every day of my life, not just from the spine injury thing, but the previous one with the ruptured discs and stuff. Every day it was painful. Training was always hard. But in this case, after strengthening the core the right way and stuff, it was amazing. It was great. So, as soon as I was able to do that, I jumped right back into the gym and went back to MMA and started training again. And then that's kind of where I got sick again. But this time I got sick with pneumonia for about 6 months, and
Oh.
yeah, it was a bad one. I believe at the time it was a particular type of pneumonia that killed people in California that I know of.
Everything kills
and-
people there.
Right, and it was like a treatment resistant bacterial pneumonia that antibiotics would not work.
Your
They gave
body
them
has
to
to
me.
fight it.
It did, yes, and hopefully your immune system is good enough, because if it's not, then you're screwed.
My father
I
got
was-
that.
Nightmare.
Nightmare.
Yeah.
Honestly, that's the scariest form of pneumonia. It is.
Absolutely.
Because it's your body's will to be a healthy body versus the virus. Bottom line.
Yeah. And it was really scary. Like I was fairly convinced I was gonna die. For that 6 months. I thought I was gonna die, but I didn't want to. I didn't want to not do anything.
Sure.
There was a lot of times I was just laying in bed and it's all I could do. I was under 3 or 4 blankets, sweating profusely and shivering, freezing cold at the same time. It was brutal. I've never gone through anything like it before or after, thankfully.
Yeah, and I'll agree with you there. Thankfully, you haven't. That's that's the kind of crap that scares the hell out of me. And I mean,
yeah. And but in that amount of time, you know, on the days that I did feel good enough and my brain could function, you know, which was barely, but it was enough. You know, I sat down at the computer. I watched some YouTube tutorials on game development and stuff, and I figured I'm gonna have to do something else with my life at some point. You know, because I've been at this the whole MMA thing. I was such a fanatic. I watched every event. I followed it so closely, not just the inside and the outside of it and the personal parts and stuff, but also the business side of it. I was very big on the business side of it and what makes a successful career and what doesn't. And I was always really into it was into the whole thing. Because like I said, when I go into something, I go into it fully.
Sure.
And I'm either 100% in or I'm 100% out. So when I crossed over to game development and I figured, you know, maybe I'll come back to MMA at some point. I've been at it a long, long time. It's not working out for me, even though I love it. I'll still continue to watch it and everything. And it was honestly, it was a hard pill to swallow. It really was, because it wasn't something I wanted to walk away from. It was my childhood dream. And it was a very, very, very depressing point in my life, but I thought, you know, just try something different.
You took this time then to transition from the MMA badass to an indie developer badass.
I don't know if I would use the term badass for either one of those.
Nope, we are. Too bad. It's set in stone. I said it here. It's fact. I'm like Wiki.
I just for the record, I wouldn't use those words, but it's okay that you did, so I don't have to worry about any backlash from that. I will accept it.
Perfect.
And
because
we'll roll with it.
I'm sure there's going to be a handful of people say, "No, yeah, badass. You're badass. Just take it." To us, you are. Anyway, you took this time, okay, to get into the indie developing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Was this ever in your mind, being an indie developer, while you were focused on MMA? Or were you hard set on MMA, indie developing wasn't even a blip in your mind?
Indie developing wasn't even a blip in my mind.
Perfect.
during that. Now, it's not to say that it wasn't at some point in my life, because that was actually probably the first thing that I wanted to do when I was a kid.
Understandable.
I really did want to. I used to go around. My mom was the manager of a surf shop, and as a kid, I just being a young kid, I looked up to all the adults around there, and they would talk to me and stuff, give me the time of day, and I'd be like, hey, I really want to make a game, and they're like, oh, that's cool, I love video games,
Sure.
And I'd be like, yeah, and they'd be like, you should make a game, and I'm like, yeah, I should make a game. Will you help me make a game? And they're like, sure, because I was just a kid, and
right.
But I took it more seriously than they did, obviously, But
at this point, we can say yes.
I wrote stories, and I brought them in, and I was like, hey, I wrote this story. Can we make it into a game now? And they're like, oh yeah, definitely, sure, And then I'd come in the next day and be like, okay, is it a game yet? And they were like, no, not yet. I've been busy, Instead of just, they were just trying to
help
to give me the time of day, and
morally, at least.
Yeah, but that's as far as it ever went. I really wanted to do it, and then I got older and I didn't do it. So
sure. I mean, like myself, I wanted to make YouTube videos when I was, 1996 was when the Nintendo 64 came out, right? I think so.
Mm-hmm.
Mario 64 came out. I threw a VHS in and recorded, and then you hit puberty and things change. Anyway, so okay, let me get me train of thought here, because I want to take this at the right angle.
Okay.
And I'm totally having a brain fart.
Off to a good start.
This is me. This is me. Yeah. Hobies. Indie development was not a blip in your mind. Okay. But after all your stuff, you got into it. Metal as fuck. Let's start right there, okay? That was your first game. No,
Yep.
We'll start right there. That was your first game, right? Your first story you wrote?
Well, it was the first game that made it to release.
Sure. So, okay then, let's go ahead and bounce off that just for a minute. So, what was your first game you wrote?
First game I wrote was actually, I believe it was called The Legend of Jack Styles, and it was an Evil Dead style game where it was a futuristic futuristic super soldier that ended up they were experimenting with time travel. He ended up going back in time on accident, and then it was his story of being basically a super soldier in some badass armor futuristic armor going through a fantasy medieval age. And but it was heavily inspired by Ash vs. Evil Dead, Army of Darkness, Bruce Campbell, really. And so all the dialogue
classic or classic hack and slash zombie film.
Yeah. So the main character was very much like Ash, very much sarcastic, inflated ego.
Sure.
And it was a comedy. So it ended up after, I was just learning, so I was making it, but it was probably it was probably my first game that I really wanted to get it to release or whatever. Ended up getting deleted, and I lost it after a few months of working on it.
Ooh. So you were actually in production of the game.
Yeah, I don't know if I don't know if I was necessarily like it wasn't 100% in my mind that I was like, I am going to release this game for sale.
Sure.
It wasn't until Metal as Fuck was done that I decided to do that. But it was definitely a game that I figured had potential. It's something that I will go back and I will make. I really liked what I had there, and
I would love to see it happen. Yeah.
Yeah, and I do have, I mean, I remember the story. I remember what I had wrote. I remember what I had developed and everything. So I could easily remake it. And I will. But, it ended up getting deleted, and I talked to some other people that had the same issue, and they gave up. They were like, right then and there, they were like, yeah, man, I put a lot of time and effort into a project, and, files got corrupted. I didn't back it up because I was dumb.
Yeah.
And which was same thing happened to me. I wasn't smart with it, and then they were like, I'm not doing that again. I'm not putting in the effort into that. Was just brutal. And I got kind of depressed for about 3 or 4 days, and then I was like, I don't want to be that guy. I don't want to be somebody that did something and got to a certain level or whatever, or made something and then gave up. Yeah,
I totally agree. Yeah.
I just didn't want to do that. Other people can do that and stuff, but that's the difference between what makes somebody successful and not. It's not the things that the hardships that you go through, but it's how you react to them. And
words of freaking wisdom right there. Anybody listening, if you've made it this long in an interview, probably 20, 25 freaking minutes of us BSing. Words of wisdom. Okay, sorry.
So yeah, I didn't want to be that guy. I didn't want to give up,
Yeah.
And everything happens for a reason, because Metal as Fuck ended up being a whole lot better than what I was making anyway. So,
and as a person who's played it, reviewed it, and everything else, it's a beautiful JRPG style, badass story game. It really is.
So, I appreciate you saying that. It's funny because you know, after that project didn't work out, and I had started working on Metal as Fuck. By the time it was done, I didn't even want to release it.
Metal as Fuck?
Yeah.
Really?
At the end of Metal as Fuck, I told myself this is a 4 out of 10 game. And
I've heard you say that before. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I said this is a 4 out of 10 game. I don't want to put it out there.
Honestly, now, if you based the game off the final boss fight, you're probably right. that final boss was a dick. But
yeah, absolutely.
You ignore that little, and Crankage has zero problems. I talked to him a lot. He has zero problems admitting his mistakes. And that was his mistake right there. But
that was a learning lesson.
I've watched hundreds of streams, and it's probably one of the greatest parts of all the streams is watching people beat their heads against that wall. So
you know what's interesting about that is, like, as many streams as we watch, as many times as we see people fight that boss, it's actually it's really interesting because not that many people experience that. Like, sometimes streamers, you know, they end up fighting the boss the way that it's meant to be fought, and they don't have any issues. The boss, you know, spoiler alert, the boss ends up. I won't spoil it, but you know, the boss does boss functioning. Yeah, the boss ends up functioning the way that it's meant to for I would say maybe 25-30% of streams, and then 70% I've got to tell the player, like, oh yeah, there's actually, you know, it's not game breaking or anything.
Sure.
But, you know, it's going to work eventually. But, you know, to speed up the process, you know,
that's the advantage to being a streamer. The creator can save your butt. I recorded that fight for 2 hours with no warnings.
Mm-hmm. but what's interesting though is that that's not the while it happens a lot to streamers, that's not in general, that's not really what happens. I would say only about 10% of overall people that play the game run into that issue. It just so happens that streamers, this is their job. This is what they do for a living. They're good at video games. Not everybody is good at video games. And if you're too good at a video game, you can run into issues like that.
Guilty.
And like, while it's you know, what, I'm not saying that that boss fight wasn't poorly developed and that I didn't make a mistake. I'm just saying that you would be really surprised how many people are not good at video games. And when they play the game, it actually, not being good at video games actually helps them get it right, because they're not beating the shit out of the boss like they're supposed to.
I get what you're saying. So what you're saying is gamers like, for example, me, Rice Ball, or Cheese Whiz, exactly. You know, all those people. We, for lack of a better way of putting it, overanalyze our games. My whole channel, Game Adventures. I'm going to dissect that game to a T. We're going to use things we shouldn't use. We're going to do things we shouldn't do. Whereas what you're saying, you're casual, I'm an average Joe, I'm checking this game out, they're just going to play through it.
Yeah, exactly. And they're going to make mistakes, and they're not going to be, because, I mean, you also have to think about it this way. You're in the spotlight. When you're a streamer, you're putting yourself out there, and you don't want to make mistakes. So you are analyzing every single move. So you are making the right decisions, and you are playing the game extremely well compared to somebody that's just sitting in their living room and they're just like, you know, I got some time to kill, I'll just, you know, press some buttons and whatever, you know.
Yeah.
You know, so you do take the game a little bit more seriously, and you do play it a little bit more hardcore. And if you do that, you do end up maybe being a little bit too overpowered when the player is not meant to be overpowered. But, you know, if you are too good at the game, or too good at games in general, it could work as a disadvantage. Which, you know, again, not the way that it was meant to be. But, you know, thankfully, in general, streamers typically are a whole lot better at video games. But the vast majority, like, if you were to really break down who is playing these games, I mean, streamers only make up, I would say, probably less than 1% of everybody that purchases the game and plays it. It's, you know,
honestly wouldn't see it like that, but I mean, then again, I don't see your numbers. You know what I mean? behind the
Yeah,
scenes.
exactly.
So I can believe it. I can believe it. Sure.
For sure. Yeah. And like I said, I do get people that do comment on the forum sometimes. That's why I wrote a guide, and I did specifically like state, hey, like there is this issue. If you want to speed up the process, you can go ahead and check this out. It is posted on the forums. Other people have had the same issue and stuff. But luckily, I would say about 90% of the time the game goes the way that it's meant to go.
Sure. Now,
which is.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh no, that was just
okay.
saying.
What I want to do, and this is so everybody, if they're still surviving and listening to this point, is there a particular reason? This is your chance to kind of, I don't know. This is your chance to quote unquote cover your ass. Is there a particular reason you don't patch it in a fix?
Yes. I'm literally unable to.
There you go, everybody. There you go.
I actually did fix it. I knew exactly what was wrong, and I went through and I fixed it, and then I lost the fix and I lost the build for it because again, if you end up, just because I screwed up the first time doesn't mean I was all that smart not fuck up twice.
You always make mistakes, even professionals. Unless you work for NASA. Don't make a mistake there.
So I am unable to fix it, unfortunately. I'm thankfully it's not game breaking. It's not something that's going to prevent you from finishing the game or anything like that. It's just that it would be a little bit better of an experience, if I could have put the fix in. It's an annoying
tiny annoyance. Just so everybody's clear, if you haven't played the game, beautiful game. Final boss has a tiny nuisance. Outside of that, I struggled. I tried to find flaws. It's my job, personally. Find flaws. Yeah. Not easy. But
yeah, I not only I feel really bad, honestly. I mean, that's not something I wanted to do, and especially because people are going to continue to play the game and everything, and they're going to still continue. Hopefully not too often.
A little bit of developer's remorse is all.
Sure, yeah, and it's not for a lack of effort. Like I said, I did fix it. I just screwed up and messed things up, and I did put in the time and effort to fix it, but it doesn't much matter because it didn't get fixed, and I can't fix it.
Right.
But I figured the only thing I can do is move on, learn from it, and make sure that I don't make the same mistake in the future games, which I haven't. So.
There you go. That's just kind of what I wanted to give to all of you. If anybody's sitting there saying, I hated that fight. He tried. He really tried. You got to give the guy at least a golf clap for that, One of them little gentle. All right. Let's go ahead and kick this on down the road a little bit more. So, Metal as Fuck was your first release. And I mean, honestly, as far as I'm concerned, I've played through every single game you've got. It is probably, honestly, your most solid as far as gameplay is concerned, because let's face it, your other games have more story than gameplay. Bottom line. Now, my question to you, and this is all tied in. Did you ever have the thought or idea that maybe Quiverdick, that's actually your second game you released, did you ever think to maybe make it more like Metal as Fuck, or were you trying to just kind of, you wanted it to be its own thing? Like, did you want it to have a level up system, random encounters?
Yes, I did. But I also wanted it to be its own thing too.
Sure.
Every game I release, it's kind of it's kind of experimental. Every game that I release, it's I'm trying something new, and I'm trying to pull something from it, what people like and what they don't, because it's the only way I'm going to find out, right?
Right.
And
that's where reviews come in, everybody. Honest reviews. Now, not to say everybody should jump out there and say, "Oh, I hated this part," negative. You can hate parts, but you can love parts and still drop a positive review. Just saying. Just saying.
Just saying.
If you have a note and you want the developer to keep it in mind, just put a little note. One thing I didn't like. This mob looked like it had a dong in its forehead. I don't know.
Right. Yeah. You know, which I mean, that's a pro.
Yeah.
If you,
well, I mean, all aboard the Pingus train. But
and I do read those. Every single review I read. Every review.
You share most of them. You share with us on either Discord or Twitter, and honestly, a lot of your reviews, when us, the people who play your games, read them, feel like, yeah, that person's awesome, because they got your back too. You know, so that's excellent.
Yeah. Definitely. But yeah, I guess to answer the question, I did want to make Quiverdick more like Metal as Fuck, but then, you know, some people. It's interesting because it actually has it's two different audiences almost. There's a crossover audience that do like both games, but some people really heavily prefer Quiverdick, and some people really heavily prefer Metal as Fuck, and some people they prefer Chronicles of Quiverdick, and some people prefer Quiverdick's Terrible Tales. Some people straight up don't like combat. Period.
Yeah.
They don't like the combat, they don't like the turn-based, and they prefer just the visual novel style. And other people like that it was a mix of the two. The Chronicles of Quiverdick was a mix of Quiverdick's Terrible Tale versus Metal as Fuck. And they do like that it was linear, streamlined, and you could just progress through the story. Because some people really, they didn't like how open and explory Metal as Fuck was, which, in my opinion, it really wasn't all that open and explory.
There's just a lot to interact with, is all, really.
Yes, and some people don't like that, but then other people really loved it. Some people actually were, you know, and I would say the majority of people actually really liked it, and they appreciated that everything was interactable, and there was so much to do, and there was very little chance that you were going to get everything in one playthrough, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, that's totally cool. I mean, that's what we, gamers like to hunt for and have replay value for.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, so the audience is a little bit split though, and they are different. So it was one of those things where I was trying something different. I wanted the Chronicles of Quiverdick not to have any fluff. The reason why there's no random battles in it was because a lot of times a trick that developers will use to add game time onto the play is just throw in more random battles, and it's really not substance, in my opinion.
No, that's just adding. That's just adding to add.
Yes, and you know, and there's lots of little tricks that developers use to get more time, and I didn't. And a lot of people, they actually, I won't say a lot of people. There aren't that many negative reviews on the Chronicles of Quiverdick. I believe it's 95% positive.
Yeah, it's good. It's really good.
Yeah, but some of the things that people didn't like is that the game was short. It was only about 3 hours long.
Right.
And but the thing is, I could have stretched it out to 6 or 7. I could have, but I chose not to because I didn't want to put in just filler content that was just there to waste the player's time.
Yeah, we don't need none of that boring monogamous crap. No.
Yeah. So I think that when people were saying that it's a bit short, I think that they're kind of missing that. Yeah, it is short, but what you're getting out of it is actually it's all meat. It is all 100% content.
Yes. Yes. There isn't in my series, when it comes to RPG style game, you can cut out the boring crap. People don't need to see repeat fights and stuff. But like Quiverdick, there was no cutting out repeat fights. There was no cutting out boring parts because, boom, we got story. Boom, we got a fight with great comedy. Boom, we got story. Boom, we got great character development. Boom, we got a short fight. It was amazing. It was a hard balance. I could see it being a hard balance. And
for sure,
not everybody is Exodus. Not everybody's me. Everybody's going to have their own opinion, but I like to believe a vast majority of gamers, especially people who like a good story, enjoyed Quiverdick for that reason. So yeah, and it was something different. Yeah. Well, let's go ahead and if you got anything else, go ahead because I got a question about Quiverdick.
I guess the only thing I'll add, because I ramble a little bit.
We all do. 40 minutes
You know,
later.
the only right. I guess down to the main question, as far as would I want to make Quiver Dick be like similar to Metal as Fuck? Yeah, actually, I I am doing something different with the next Quiver Dick game. I'm working on it right now. It is going to be more like Metal as Fuck, and it's going to be a mix of the Chronicles of Quiver Dick mixed with Metal as Fuck, but something also entirely different. It's more going to be D&D style, and it's going to be very much. It's going to be very, very, very heavily choice influenced.
All you nerds out there right now, get off your butts. Get on Patreon and support this guy. Let's make this happen. I'm not a D&D nerd, but my nipples are growing. Oh yeah,
That,
like
mine never stop.
Oh yeah, dude, I look like one of them hobgoblins in a Hobbit movie. That's actually kind of like, that blows my mind. That idea right there is kind of like, that's hot. I like interactive. That's a lot of people take that factor out of consideration when it comes to RPGs. They take the R out. Oh, roll.
Right.
Most people think, oh, you're the main character, everything involves you. The real role is when you, the player, get to make the choice. Like the end of Terrible Tale.
Yeah, and that was again experimental. I'd never done any sort of choices.
Going out there right now, okay? I love Metal as Fuck. Honestly, it's probably my favorite at this point because, honestly, I do like turn-based battle. It's just one of my favorite styles of gameplay. But, Quiver Dick, both chapters are like tied neck and neck. The first one, you get a feel for Quiver Dick himself. You get a feel for Quiver Dick. Like, yeah, he's amazing. But the second one, that 3 endings, that literally blew my mind to pieces. That was the single most greatest thing you probably could have ever done to an RPG like that. Just gonna say that.
Yeah,
not to say do it every game, you know, because there's probably people out there like, I don't want to play through this just to see what the story is. Watch my channel.
Right.
Ha! No, seriously. Selfless promotion. But no, I love that personally. But that's actually not what I wanted to ask you about Quiver Dick. A lot of your games, I'm not going to get into all of them because I don't want this to run on too long. If people want a part 2, we can do a part 2 and make it whatever. But what I want to get at about Quiver Dick is Quiver Dick himself. Okay.
Okay.
Was there an inspiration behind him? Or was it just this sounds really damn funny, and then you started writing?
You know, I'm gonna have to say there was no inspiration for Old Man Quiver other than I was writing a joke into the game, and I wanted to.
Metal as Fuck.
Metal as Fuck, and I had no idea that Old Man Quiver was going to be basically the highlight of the game in a lot of people's minds. It's the part that, you know, that people remember the most.
The game's so serious up to that point. You know, there's a little bit of comedy with Pontius, but to that point, it's like this is a story-driven, awesome game. And then here comes Quiver Dick.
And then here comes Quiver Dick. Yeah, and you know, and I honestly I didn't know. It's something that I couldn't have planned for. I didn't know, and
that's awesome.
And you know, but when I was writing the joke, I wanted to do essentially a Skyrim reference type thing, but I didn't want to do a Skyrim reference because it's so overdone. And
right. I mean, they got memes for it.
Yes, it's so overdone. So I wanted to do a bait and switch. You know, that's what I try to do with every joke. I try and use what I know of human psychology.
Yeah.
And I try and predict what the player is going to think and how they're going to react, which is why so many people, I've heard it time and time again, which it's always the biggest compliment to me, or one of the biggest compliments, where they're like, it's like we're the same person. It's like when I play these games and stuff, you know, people always say when I play these games, I know what the character is going to say, you know, and so, well, good. I'm glad. That's what I was going for. Is I wanted you to know, because then the curveball is coming, and so I wanted to make it seem like I was doing another dull, bland, boring, overused Skyrim joke, and then throw in the curveball, and that's what I try and do with basically all of the jokes. Is I want, if it seems obvious, trust me, it's not going to be obvious. You're going to be surprised.
Something's going down.
By the time it gets to the punchline or whatever, you can expect something, but I end up surprising people every time with certain things. You know, like
my best example is, and now this is everybody out there, okay? Red Mouse Games produced and created the gameplay of Damn Daniel.
Correct.
You wrote the story, correct?
I wrote most of it. I wrote the original script, and then she went through and added in her own stuff. Yes.
So, you know, that's a collaboration, but that game, that one and Terrible Tale, Terrible Tales for Terrible Parents to Read Their Equally Terrible Children. I love saying that title. Both those games had that aspect deep embedded in them. Like, everybody remembers the tent scene. Everybody I've watched has had the exact same reaction as me. Oh no, there isn't. You know, Terrible Tales did the exact same thing. Oh, well, kind of. That dog actually got really unpredictable. That dog got really unpredictable. But that's what we as the community love about your games. We can predict them, but then we're wrong. When you're wrong and it's better, like, oh my god, I didn't expect that. It's like giving us gamers a freaking golden bar of goldness. I lost my metaphor.
Well, yeah, and that's it's nice, because that's what I was going for. You know, as I wanted it. Like I said, if it seems lame, it's not going to be lame. You know, there's, not to say that there's no lame jokes in the games. There absolutely is. There's, you know, one of my favorite jokes that I wrote into Chronicles of Quiverdick is the dumbest fucking joke in the game. And I probably like it the most, and that's the insecure doorway. Where it says insecure doorway, and then when you go to enter it says, are you sure you want to enter this insecure doorway? It may make you look fatter than you actually are, or something like that. You know, something, I don't even remember my own joke.
I remember what you're saying. So it was basically one of those.
It was just a dumb joke. It was like a dad joke type thing. And
yes.
I ended up, I was like fixing some bug that was in the game, and I was like, I think I was fixing some bug with the door, and then I just put that into it, and I laughed to myself because I was probably stoned and giggling, and I was just like, oh, this is dumb. I'm gonna do this, and then I just left it in there. But you know, so there are dumb jokes in the game, but for the most part, I try and make certain things seem obvious. For example, you know, another one, the Monty Python reference with the little mouse creature in the cave. You know, I wanted people to understand this is a Monty Python reference. Yes. This is what you would expect it to be and everything. And it's just like the rabbit in the movie and everything. But then throw the curveball. It's not what you would expect it to be at the end. It's not. You're understanding the reference, but you're not understanding the punchline until it comes. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So the references are not just the references. They're references with their own unique punchlines. Mm-hmm. And that's what makes the story so easy to get wrapped in, you know? I will openly admit I am probably the world's biggest closeted dumbass. I mean, I know next to nothing outside of these walls and the internet hasn't taught me very much. So I miss a lot of references, and when I get a reference, when I get a joke in one of your games, it's one of them things of, oh, that's good. It has to be good, because I get it. If I get it, everyone's gonna get it.
Well, and that's the other thing. That's the other layer and level that I go above and beyond to achieve too, is because I not only I take into account the fact that not everybody is going to get the references. So I make sure I put a lot of time and effort into making sure that what I'm writing is going to be understood, and it's still going to be funny even if you don't know the references. And I don't want people to play through the game and they're just like, I don't get it, you know?
Right.
You don't have to get it as long as the joke applies, whether you get it or not. If you get it, it's an added bonus. That's cool. You know, it's kind of like the old man quiver scene in Metal as Fuck.
Right.
Whether you get it or not, if you've never played Skyrim and you've never heard of the reference that's referring to, it's still a funny scene.
And now, see, I never played Skyrim, but I do know the meme or the jokes. So,
sure.
You know, when I was reading that, I'm like, the arrow to the knee thing, and it was the thoughts were there of, oh, this is pretty good. This is going to be funny. And then, well, how about taking one to the dick? It's like, whoa. Whoa. No, pause everything. We need to stop right here and elaborate what's going on. You know?
And then the next line that I had written after that was the kind of like the cherry on top. It just, like, people really laugh at that part. Yeah, you know, they laugh at one part, but then it just gets a little bit better, and I elevate it to the next level. And I'm always trying to add on a little bit more. Like, I get the player to the line, and then that's the joke or whatever, and then I like to cross the line afterwards and really add on to more. So
sure.
But yeah, that's what I try and do is it's great if people get the references, but you never have to get any of the references in any of the games. They'll still be funny. I've tried to write the jokes where they're twofold.
That's what I'm trying to say as the closet dumbass who knows nothing. Your jokes, even your references that, you know, your joke references that should be obvious, that weren't obvious to me, were still comedic. The reference goes over my head, so people watching are like, wow, that was funny, and you're a dumbass. And that's totally fine. That's totally fine. But when you get the references, it's even better. That's all there is to it. I mean, let me see. Metal as Fuck was my first game. You know, with yours, I played, obviously. Duh. I got next to none of the references. I've watched people stream to this point, and I see names. Cheese Wiz Khalifa. Really? Really? Come on now. You know, yeah. The replay value's there. If you miss the jokes and you play the game again, you might get the jokes a second time, and then it's even better. Yeah.
And Metal as Fuck is probably the best example of all the games too, because I put like over 300 interactable hidden things and references into the game, and honestly, there not a single person has gotten every reference, but somebody has gotten every reference in the game. It's just that some people will get some and some people will get others or whatever. So collectively, all of the references have been noticed, which is nice to see. But but you know, you're always not everybody is going to hit every single reference. You know?
No, but if you pandered to one group of people, then the game wouldn't be appealing to others. So you know, you can't make a bunch of references that are TV related and nothing else. You know, you're non-TV watchers like me. What the hell's this? So. No, the balance was perfect there, as far as Metal as Fuck and Quiver Dicks are concerned. Damn Daniel, even. So, I think we need to go ahead and not wrap it up. We're not done yet. I got a little bit more I want to talk to you about, and this is going to be long as hell. If people want to listen to the whole thing, thank you. I know Crankage appreciates it, because we're getting to know the guy, and I mean, I've learned more about him today that's made me respect him even more than anything else. So, let's go ahead and hit the last one, and then I want to touch on your plans for the future a little bit, because it's kind of a tough situation for everybody. The future's never easy to handle. So let's go ahead and talk about the one game we haven't yet. And as far as I can tell, it's probably your single-handedly most controversial game.
Okay.
Deported.
Oh, that one.
Yeah, no, he's like, wait, that game wasn't. What are you talking about controversial? Are you trying to create controversy? Yes, I.
Oh yeah, no, nobody makes Twitter posts about that and rants and.
Oh,
yeah.
I mean, I haven't honestly, other than what you've linked in negative reviews, the only ones that I've seen like negative comments on is Deported, because it's 2018/19 now. Everybody's.
Yeah, it's funny too because it's the only game that I have with like next to no vulgarity in it at all.
Yes.
And it's there's and like that's what's so interesting about it is that in itself it's not offensive. It's not, but people are offended.
You're not like calling people out. You're not making fun of. You're really not making fun of anything.
No, really not. But and it's funny because people are offended before they even play the game. They start the game offended, and just because not the context of it or the or even the they're just offended by the idea, and that's what I find most interesting about it. Because like honestly, there are so many things. There are so many things in the Chronicles of Quiverdick specifically that people could find so offensive, even in Quiverdick's Terrible Tale.
Oh,
I'm surprised.
Geez.
I'm surprised people haven't like grabbed their pitchforks and torches and come after the mushroom event.
I mean,
and how
in my defense,
wrong that is.
I did get at least one comment saying this isn't the kind of game you play with your kid. But that being said, I didn't play. I didn't play with my kid. I swear. So
right.
You know,
yeah. But it's just interesting because language, not just language, but like I said, there are some lines in the game that are just straight up offensive, and they will offend a group of people. And
little
and
kids
they will
stealing
upset.
Grandpa's mushrooms.
There you go.
I mean,
you
know somebody's out there like, God dang it, you can't be letting your stuff like that get in kids' hands.
Oh yeah, there's just straight up, there are a lot of offensive things and a lot of different offensive themes in the games, but I have heard no complaints about any of them. But as soon as Deported dropped, people are offended who haven't even played the game. You know what I mean? Like,
I love this day and age for that reason.
It's crazy. It's crazy. They don't even know what the game's actually about, and they're already offended.
I mean,
it's kind of impressive, you know.
Exactly. I mean, like me personally, I look at it. Okay, the story personally to me was freaking hilarious. I am in no way, shape, or form one of those people out there throwing politics in people's faces. I could give a damn less. I'm one person in the drop of the ocean. What do I care or matter? But that being said, the gameplay itself, take the story out. You know, if people would just, okay, I'm not going to read the story. That game was fantastic. Like,
I mean, yeah, it wasn't, it had its moments.
I would honestly say if I had one of those games with 100 levels, like, boom, boom, and it just progressively either got harder or bigger, that'd probably be one of my favorite games to play.
And again, it was an experimental thing for me. I think a lot of people were, especially with the program that I was using for it, there's like pretty much no other game out there that does what I did with the program, which is the main win that I've taken from it.
With the program, yes.
With the program, yes. Go ahead.
No, I brain farted. I'm done.
Yeah. So like, I mean, obviously there are other games that are similar and stuff.
Right.
I did pull inspiration from some, but yeah, it was kind of again, it was experimental. It's unlike any of the other games that I've made gameplay wise, and it was just it was a break for me. It was a break from the RPG style. Yes. It was, I really needed a mental break. So it was a fun little game. I never expected it to really take off or go anywhere. It's funny, Deported 2 is doubled the sales of Deported 1, and people aren't even playing Deported 1, they're jumping right into 2, which they're missing the whole first part of the story.
Which, that kind of... I mean, you could probably piece the story together just by the title.
Sure.
If you played 2. But...
Absolutely.
Honestly, they are missing out on the gameplay itself, too. They really are.
Yeah, and it's a short game, and as far as the 100 levels goes and stuff, like, you know, it was just an experimental thing,
Sure.
but it's really given me some people really did like it a lot, and it's given me a lot of ideas of how I can take it to the next level, how I can make more advanced things and more advanced levels and more levels and add in more mechanics to it, and
Right.
you know, and there's so much more I can do with it, and I'm excited because I do have a few other games planned that are like it.
That's why we gotta push
Yeah.
push this guy. We gotta help him as much as we can. I want to see this happen because I mean, I've spent my entire life as a Nintendo / PlayStation fanboy, and I mean, there were times I would just love to speed bag my nutsack for being such a fanboy. Just knock it out, you know. But terrible because I can picture it. No, you've made me change my outlook on gaming in general. Indie developers are now the heart and soul of my gaming passion. So I gotta give you mad props there, and that's why I gotta do everything in my power to push. So I think we'll take that opportunity, and if we want to talk more about Deported, if you all want to talk more about some of Crankage games, drop comments. Say, hey, I want a part 2. Make it shorter, but ask him this question. Okay, we'll give it a shot. You know, we'll figure it out. But I want to touch one more little subject in this area, and then we can, I guess, wrap up today's little conversation.
Sure.
Let's just get into it. Your future projects, okay?
Okay.
I know you got lots of plans, but I also know you've got lots of life. Life is just, you know, life sucks when it wants to. What is your main plan right now? Your first priority?
First priority would be,
Because I got a list of here. Like, you know, we've got Deported 3. Because I mean that game's an on-running story. We've got Quiver Dick. He can tell as many stories as you can come up with to his kids. I mean, that's literally an open book. I know you've got other secret projects that I won't mention personally. If you mention them, that's your thing. And then there's the one that I know everybody is probably looking forward to, and that's reinventing the steel.
Right. Yeah. So okay. So there's a couple of definitely a couple of projects. I'll go over the ones that I've already begun making.
Okay.
I have a game that I finished at least the rough draft of. It's 90% done.
Wow.
It's a short game. It has absolutely nothing to do with any of the other games. It's its own thing.
Play style, story, everything.
Yeah. It's another comedy. Different characters entirely. There's, as a matter of fact, there's not a single similar character in it. You know.
That in itself is almost, you know, it's like Deported. It's its own thing.
Yeah, and that one's 90% done. That'll definitely be out early this year.
Cool. Don't overdo it now, but cool.
And then let's see. There's another one, Deported 3. Half of it's already written. Almost all of it's developed. So that I would say, honestly, that one's probably 90% done too.
Cool.
That will also be out this year. Then I've got, I do have one that's I'm still debating. I'm debating on how I should release it. There's a game that I've got called Monster Chef Manor, and that's the that Monster Chef Manor.
Okay.
It's essentially, if you've ever seen cooking shows, cooking competitions like Chopped or Cutthroat Kitchen or Iron Chef. It's just like that. It's like a cooking competition parody where you play Faticus Maximus as the main character.
Yes.
And it actually has all of the characters that from other games in this cooking competition. There will be Chael, there will be Pontius, there will be Alexandria and Trecklin and
oh my
Old
god,
Man Quiver. It's all of the characters, from all the other games, mashed into one cooking competition.
Oh my god!
Along with other characters. So Now, here's the thing. I've already finished. If I were to release it as is, or have it polished up, fixed up, and everything, and put it out as is, it would be the first chapter in the series of the cooking competition. Or I could spend some more time working through it and finish the entire game itself. And I'm not sure how I want to release it yet. I don't know if I want to release it as an entire game or if I want to release it in chapters, because right now what I've got is about a 3-hour experience.
Wow.
It's got some mini games in it, some little like cooking mini games and stuff like that, as well as just a very long.
So, would it be kind of almost safe to assume it's kind of like a story-driven crafting game?
I wouldn't go that far. I think that would be giving it too much credit. It's definitely story-driven.
Sure.
Definitely, absolutely. It's virtually all story.
I'm trying to picture the gameplay a little bit without trying to, either build it up or ruin it, but I want to kind of.
I would say the cooking part, the mini game part, is a very small part of the game. It's something different and interesting. Think of the the mushroom event.
Yes. Yes.
And, it's something different or whatever, but I would say it's way more interactive than that, and it goes on for a bit longer than that.
Okay.
It's its own mini game. It's a little bit more advanced than that, but it is still a small portion. Unless I were to finish the entire game, and build it and not release it in chapters, in which case it would be a much greater part of the game overall, because you're not just doing it once or twice. You're actually doing it many times throughout the whole competition. So because essentially it works in rounds.
Right.
One person or several get eliminated per round. So as you're progressing through the story, you start with like 12 chefs that all live in this house together. It's basically like a reality TV / cooking show parody, with all the characters from the previous games, and there's judges and things like that.
God! Like my brain is running 1,000,000 miles per hour on the concept.
But people get eliminated.
It's like a cooking show. It's like a competition.
Exactly, except the people, after they're eliminated, they don't leave the house and they don't go away. So then you've got politics, and you've got sabotage, and you've got
spiteful, angry, and desperate, not Desperate Housewives. Well, yeah, Desperate Housewives, or like The Bachelor, almost. Except for the eliminated people are there being antagonists.
Yeah, and some of them came, some of the competitors, they're there with friends, so even though they didn't win, they might try and screw over some of the other competitors so their friends win at least, or it depends on whatever their.
That's so fantastic.
So there's
oh my gosh, that sounds so neat. I'm thoroughly like, I'm not doing the face cam for all of you, but if you saw me right now, I'm ear to ear grins, and my freaking head is like the size of a freaking watermelon.
So like I said though, I don't know if I should release it in 4 parts or if I should just release it as one whole big game.
Now, if you did it in 4 parts, would it be 4 3-hour parts?
Yes.
Oh,
yeah, it would.
Wow. So in the long run, now, simple math would say this is roughly a 12-hour game then, if done.
Correct.
Beginning to end.
Yeah. Now, if I were to do it beginning to if I were to do it beginning to end all in one go, it probably wouldn't reach 12 hours, because if I'm gonna be releasing it in 4 parts, I've got to make sure that I'm giving the same amount of content with every release. So I would add more to the story. I would add, whereas if I were to release it all in one go, I could actually cut out a lot of filler content. I could cut out a lot of stuff, and I could probably make it more like an 8-hour and release it all as one game rather than 4 parts at 12 hours total, and still get the same effect. So So if I release it all as one, it'll probably be 8 hours. If I release it as 4, it'll probably be a total of 12. But you'll have to wait for the parts to come out. A lot of people, people are real split on that. But I would say that the majority probably would prefer a full game.
See, I'm the middleman right here. I got to be honest. That's the hardest thing for me. Like, not a day goes by that I can't wait to see what Quiverdick has up his sleeve, or it is killing me. It's literally like I almost lose sleep over it, not knowing what the hell's gonna happen to poor Daniel. Like that's oh my god.
And that's just it. Is that every episode, the way that it's written right now, I wouldn't say it. I mean, obviously it would end on a cliffhanger because that's the way every episode of reality TV works, right?
Yeah.
And it's written the same way.
Sure. Sure. It's like a video game reality TV show.
But that's the thing though, is that I didn't want to just end it on a cliffhanger. I wanted to at least give the player a full experience of, they worked all the way to get to this point. I didn't want to just deny them an ending. There's at least, again, I don't want to go into spoilers or whatever too much, but you at least get some relief at the end. So you still feel like you got through the experience and everything.
You can breathe and you can be patient for the next part.
Yeah, so you'll still feel satisfied at the end of the game, I hope. But, but you'll definitely want to see what happens next because it's only the beginning of the next round.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
It's just like damn Daniel.
So hopefully, I want to say that I would like to release it as a whole game rather than release it in sections. If I had it my way, that's the way I would prefer. Now, I don't want to go too much into it, but if we're talking for financial reasons or whatever, it might be best for me to release it in parts just so I can ensure that I can continue working on games, pay my bills, things like that, and that I would actually be able to continue working on it and making more parts. I may have to release it in quarters if things go well or whatever, and I can afford to spend the extra time making it into a full game and finish it as a full project.
That would be preferred.
Yeah, that would be preferred, because that's the thing about game development is that you're working for months with no pay. You're putting all the time investment into the project, not getting anything from it.
Sure.
So at least if I were to release it in quarters, I would have an income from the first that would help support the next and then the next. And, you know what I mean?
And that's something I want to point out about Crankage right now to everybody listening, if you're still listening an hour and 20 minutes later. Cough. A lot of developers are people like you and me out there. Well, not Crankage, because he's kind of busting his ass just on developing, but a lot of people are going to school, working a job. They come home, they develop their game for a little bit, work on it, blah, blah, blah. I know people have been working on games for 3+ years, but they're balancing life too. Crankage here, everybody. He is devoting his life and time and soul into his passion of game development. He's really putting himself out there. And that's admirable, man. It's not easy.
All my eggs are in one basket.
Yep. Yeah.
They say don't do that, but that's the way that anything I've ever done in my life, that's the way I've done it, and I've achieved a lot of success by doing it.
Sure, you're gonna fail a little bit along the way, but ultimately you're gonna be way more successful.
And
you really are.
And it's nothing ventured, nothing gained. If you want something, if you want to achieve something really great, there has to be a certain level of insanity to you. There's got to be, there has to be some. You've got to go. One of the greatest quotes that I've ever heard, and I try to live by, is a guy named Chael Sonnen. He always said, "If you're not willing to go too far, you'll never go far enough." And that's what I try and do.
Yeah.
You've got to take the risk. You have to. You can't just play it safe and expect expect things to work out. If you're only putting in half the effort, half is what you're going to end up with.
Right.
So I really, yeah, I'm putting everything into it. And if I fail, I fail. You know, I've already accepted that that's a possibility.
Yep. Yep. Hope for the best, prep for the worst.
Mm-hmm.
That's what you do. I mean, I've been doing these YouTube videos and working a job, and last year or so, I haven't had a job. I've just been focusing on videos. Not to say I planned on making an income off of it, because it's not something you just go out there and say, hey, give me your money. No. Just like game development. Here's my game, everybody. Buy it. It don't work like that, everybody. It don't.
No, absolutely
My
not.
YouTube channel spent 15 months at about 40 subs or less. And then my head comes from out of the ass, and things grow. I meet new people, cool people, and everything's just 100 times better. Same as for his games and his development of games. He can pump out 1 million games, but if you're not putting yourself out there 100% and saying, hey, check out my game, I'll support you, I'll watch your stream while you do it, you just ain't gonna go nowhere.
And that's just it, you know, as far as your YouTube channel and stuff goes, it's not for lack of solid content, you know. Like the content is good, but it's not enough to be a good YouTuber. It's not enough to be a good game developer. It's not enough to be an extremely talented whatever it is that you are.
That's,
you know,
right.
There are a lot of very, very, very talented musicians in the world. There are a lot of very, very solid bands that are not making a living making music, and there's a lot shittier bands out there that are making music and getting paid lots of money for making shitty music. And you can tell that this person is, like, you can compare two people and you can be like, this guitarist is making a lot more money than this guitarist, but the guitarist that's getting paid less is a whole lot more talented.
Yes.
You know, they've devoted a lot more of their life to their craft, and, you know, blah, 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 blah. But it's not enough. It's about marketing. It's about promotion. It's about
that extra effort. That extra little bit. You give it 100%, great. Got to add that extra 10. Make it 110.
And you got to be vocal. You got to put yourself out there. You got to go after what you want. You can't be afraid.
Yep.
And, you know, the squeaky wheel gets the oil and the open mouth gets fed. You got to
9 months ago, I never would have talked to you. I would have just said, played your game, said, cool, nice to meet you, blah. But I got my head out of my ass. I kind of got myself focused. And like he said, that's what you got to do, is get yourself focused and put yourself out there a little bit further than you might feel comfortable. Yeah,
absolutely. Like the same, you know, the cliche, nothing great ever came from comfort zones, you know, and it's true. You've got to.
I'm not gonna play devil's advocate, but cough, masturbation, cough. All right. I personally wouldn't feel very comfortable wanking in the middle of Walmart. Wait, what? Huh?
I mean,
that's not my comfort zone. No. Or is it? All right. Well, I think we've kind of touched on a lot of things. Anything else you want to touch on future projects? I mean, we got to kind of look forward to that. And I mean, just you dropping the name Faticus Maximus got me all hot and bothered about that. Is there anything else you might want to foreshadow or hint at or anything? Or I got one more little section I want to kind of go over. It'll be quick, simple, and then we'll call it quits and let everybody have their lives back who's still hanging out.
I mean, I definitely. I mean, there are other projects. There was those ones. And then there's the whole D&D style Quiverdick game. That'll be the next Quiverdick thing. I won't bother going too much into that. But
suspense.
But you know, then obviously there is this one project that I'm really, really, really passionate about. I've talked to you about it a little bit before.
Yes. Is it the one I make fun of Eld for?
I don't know. You'll have to be a little more specific.
Hot Babes?
Oh, no, that's actually another project. Shit, I forgot about that.
Damn.
And I honestly, you know, I've put that one on the back burner just a little bit, but yeah, I do have a hentai parody as well. Yeah, that works, and that one's that one actually shouldn't take me as long as you might think. That one, a lot of the work's already done for it.
Sure.
Nice. And that's kind of what I was touching on a little bit when I was talking about Deported. Because It's going to be just imagine Deported, but 10 times more advanced and way longer, and also just happens to be a hentai parody that's not only is it not safe for work. It unfortunately the only one the reason why I haven't been working on that one immediately is because I do know that a lot of streamers are looking forward to some of the games, because it really does get the audience to interact. It does
Helps people grow.
Yeah, and it really brings people into streams. That's the thing, is that streamers I hear it all the time. They don't get as many viewers until they play the games, and then the title of the game brings in people.
Yes.
And they're like, what is this? And then the whole audience, they just love it, and then they want more, and then so
it snowballs.
But and the hentai parody cannot be streamed. It'll be against Twitch terms of service. So
but I've made it my personal challenge. If this game ever gets released, I will find a way.
Oh, it's definitely going to get released.
I will find 100%. A way.
To
make a video.
But this, so there is that one. But the other one, the big one, there's basically there's Metal as Fuck, reinventing the steel, which is actually going to be the third in the Metal as Fuck installment. There's another project that I've started working on.
Whoa,
and
that's new to me.
Yeah. Yeah, there's another project that is now in the works. It's Metal as Fuck 1.5, but it's not called Metal as Fuck, and it takes place after the events of Metal as Fuck, but it leads into Metal as Fuck 2, and it has some of the same characters in it, but it's kind of a different timeline, and the main 4 characters are all completely different than what you would get from Metal as Fuck. But it is very heavily metal themed. It's all metal references. It's all.
I love
but
that.
But it also just happens to be a very long and open RPG. It should be about 20 to 30 hours long.
Wow. Well, you better make sure and release that bad boy for plenty of money, because I'm gonna pay for it.
Yeah, cool. It's honestly the most excited I've been about working on a project in a really long time.
Well, now you're getting me excited.
Because it's, well, yeah, I mean, like, I really, every single thing that I've put into this game so far, I've loved it. There's not a single part of it that I've been even slightly questioning or anything. It's a project that for the first time, I think since I started, I'm actually confident in it, and where I'm just like this is good. This is really, really good. I've got some really solid stuff here, and I'm excited because I feel like if there's anything that I ever put out that now just throw this out there, be 100% clear and everything. I've never once have I expected any sort of game to be like the $1 million game or anything. I don't make games with that in mind,
Right.
It's one of those things. If it happens, great. If it doesn't,
not as great, but okay.
Yeah, obviously. But if there were ever going to be one, that as far as all the projects that I've worked on, this is the one I would put my money on. Being a huge thing. It's 6 times longer than the longest thing I've put out so far, and it's got way more content. It's got way more songs. It's got way more metal in it. It's got way more references. It's got just overall way more content. It's
talk about building that anticipation.
Way more battles, way more in-depth battle system. It's got a whole lot more character development, a whole lot more story, and it's also fairly. It's got a linear main story, but it's got a whole lot of optional branching side quests. It's almost like old school Final Fantasy open world style, but you'll never be lost. There's a quest journal.
Pretty linear, but it's not.
Yeah, like you'll know the main story quest from the optional story quest. So if you want to, if you don't want to go off and explore, if you just want to go straight to the end, you can. There's a quest line that you can follow all the way through.
Cool.
But so you're never going to be lost and wondering, where do I go, what do I do? It's not going to be confusing. But there's there's triple the content if you want to go explore different things. And if you want to make the main story easier and stuff, you can go do the optional side quests. There's a whole lot of dialogue and a whole lot of story that branches off of everything, and some of the optional stuff can even affect the main story and change how things happen later on.
That's adding a lot of complexity to your job right there.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. And that's why I'm really excited about it, because I've actually, like, every game I've released up to this point has been I've thrown in some trial and error and some testing things here and there, and like, how is this received? What did people like about this, and what didn't they like? And so I'm taking all of the positive things that everybody did like about all the games, and I'm mashing them into this one.
Gotcha.
And it's I'm really happy with how it's turning out.
That's actually kind of a good strategy. I mean, you've got enough games out there, you've got enough feedback from both positive and negative, I imagine, that you could probably legit do that and not make a game that's forced. You know what I mean? Because you don't want to force something out there that, I gotta make this because it's got everything everybody likes.
Right.
There's a fine line that he's riding, folks, and I'm pretty sure this guy's the one guy in the world who can ride it perfectly. So I'm saying it here. This game is gonna be the 2019 game of the year, I hope. We'll try to make it. It sounds like it. I mean, if you touch 20 hours in the length of this game, just 20, I would probably buy 10 copies of it. Straight up, I have several copies of Final Fantasy X. Literally, I got it on PlayStation 2, 3, and 4 computer, and I could beat that game in 25 hours. Think about that. That's made by a company with thousands of people working their asses off, making music, making art, versus Crankage Games. Now, Crankage Games isn't alone. He's not alone completely. He has some help in the art department and stuff. But ultimately, this is the brainchild of this man right here. And like, if it's a 20-hour game, like I say, I'm comparing it not necessarily in gameplay to Final Fantasy, but just the thought of it being as long as a Final Fantasy makes my heart skip several beats. You know,
for sure.
I'm up. If I had my way, if I knew I could have millions of watchers and subscribers just by playing those kinds of games, that's all I would do. Because I mean, I'm a very, very, very RPG whorish guy. Oh yeah. But that being said,
and that's the thing as far as Final Fantasy goes. So I love Final Fantasy. I think it's great, but I think that's also kind of a reason why a lot of developers in this market, I think that's kind of why they fail, because they're trying to make the next Final Fantasy.
Yes.
And they need to cut that shit out, because it's not going to happen.
Well, look at Square. They keep trying to reinvent Final Fantasy VII.
Yeah, they can't even make Final Fantasy. You know, like, I mean, here's the thing. And when I say that it's not going to happen, I'm not meaning that is a negative. Like, no matter how hard you try, you'll never be good enough. No, that's not what I mean at all. What I mean is, you can always you can put in your absolute best effort, but what's the point in making a second-rate Final Fantasy when you can make a first-rate version of something else? You know, something original, something.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like,
yes.
It will never be Final Fantasy, because Final Fantasy. The thing about Final Fantasy is, if the old Final Fantasies that everybody loved and nostalgia and all, nostalgia is a powerful drug.
Yes.
If those were released today and nobody had ever played them before, it wouldn't fly.
No, they'd be dead in the water. You can go ahead and read in the forums. If any company threatens to make a turn-based battle or active time battle, those are dead. It has to be a hack and slash. It has to be open world. It has to. The gaming world's completely changed when it comes to JRPGs.
Absolutely.
So what you're doing in handling a balance between a good product and a JRPG is not easy.
Yeah, exactly.
You're reaching into people's minds in a way that they might not want, but once it's done, they love.
Yeah,
it's very, very.
And that's just it. I'm making something that looks similar. I'm making something that has the elements of the nostalgia that, you know, people loved from Final Fantasy. They can see it and they can say, this is something I can relate to. I've played something similar to this before. But it's not Final Fantasy. It's nothing like Final Fantasy when you really dive into it. It looks similar enough, and it functions similar enough. I mean,
yes,
you know, you could look at, but it's not. It's not the same thing, and that's why people really, really do like it, is because it is something different, and it's not something that you can find elsewhere.
Exactly, 100% can't argue at all with that. Whoa. So you think that about covers your ideas for future projects? For the most part?
I think so.
I mean, if we ever want to cover more, we can come back.
Sure, for the most part, yeah. I mean, those are the ones that I've at least begun development on, and are currently in the works. I've got some ideas here and there for others, but there's no point talking about them until there's actually something physical.
And that's perfectly great, because that's the whole point of this little interview / podcast / BS session. Give everybody something to either look forward to, anticipate, or give people that drive to support you. I mean, go ahead and like, subscribe my channel too. I don't care there. This is more about Crankage Games right at this very moment. So, we've been going for a long time, man. Take out the 5 minutes it took me to get things rolling. Got about over an hour and a half. Now, all of you are probably thinking, what does this mean? I'm going to wrap it up. But I'm going to put Crankage Games on the chopping block hardcore to wrap it up. Here's what we're going to do. Because there was this one section here I actually wanted to talk about before your game creations, and well, that was just how good that's how organized I am. We freaking skipped an entire section of you. So, let's make this part quick, okay? We'll go quick answers, keep them short and sweet.
Okay.
You can make them as funny as you want, but, honestly, honesty is going to be the best bet, so.
Okay.
All right. Hope you all are ready. Let's go ahead and get into Crankage Games, just a tiny bit about him. So, do you have any good or bad habits? Let's start with good. What's your good habits?
Good habits. I'm very stubborn.
I don't know if that's a habit or not, but
that just happens to be my bad habit too. I'm very stubborn. So
I was kind of like thinking, I drink water all the time, but I don't wash my hands after I pee. But that's okay.
right. No, oh man, I mean, shit, I can go into a whole lot of bad habits, and more so than good. I can't think of good habits, but
I know. That's where the comedy of this kind of kicks in. It's like, I'm pretty good at trimming my pubes, even.
Yeah, oh sure. I mean, I'm not even good at that.
Well then, let's go ahead and continue on, okay? Because these are things that are kind of just going to be fun, informational.
Sure.
So, all right, this next one, simple. Favorite food and drink?
Chinese food.
Anything specific?
I like sweet and spicy. So like
General Tso's.
Yeah. And it doesn't always have to be spicy. I like sweet and sour chicken. I like sweet and sour pork. I like
staples.
I like spring rolls, egg rolls. I like oh man, those cream cheese like crab puffy thing, wonton things or whatever, God. Like the fried ones with all the.
We had a place in town that made them freaking fantastic, and it closed, and I haven't found them since. It's a nightmare. Okay, good. Now drink.
I drink a lot of water, man. I drink a lot of water. I haven't had soda since I was like probably 14, 15 years old.
Okay, well, let's put it this way. Every drink's on the table but water. What would you pick? Because a lot of people are water freaks. Myself, my blood runs syrup.
I guess I would have to go with coffee, but if I'm not gonna do coffee, then maybe eggnog. I like eggnog a lot.
Cool. I know Eld will hear that and he'll be knocking on your door. I got some eggnog. Dude, he comes over here with gallons of this shit. All right. Now, this next question, I can go ahead and jump out and assume you're a night guy. But are you a night or a day person?
Depends on the point of life, that I'm, like, honestly, like, I mean,
Fair enough.
let me put it this way.
What do
The way
you prefer, though? But go ahead. Go ahead.
it when I wake up, I get on the computer, I look at notifications, which I can't even scroll to the bottom of my notifications. I feel like a fucking asshole because I can't respond to everybody that has tagged me because I can't see their posts. I want to. I scroll to the bottom. It hits page end, and I can't see everything. I mean, there's I think I'm at the point where, like, I get like 2,000 or 3,000 notifications when I go to bed.
So anybody listening, don't get upset if he doesn't reply. He's grown. I met the dude when he was at like 2,500, 2.5K Twitter followers. So he could actually communicate a little bit more back then. Now the dude's over 12,000 people who love and respect him on Twitter. Okay, I use the terms loosely. But
yeah, right.
some of them just follow you just to call you a piece of shit. It's entirely possible. People
Which
kind
is
of
fine,
are weird. Yeah, hey, you're entitled to your opinion. Everybody can have it. But
so yeah, I wake up, and whatever time it may be, and then I spend like 3 hours basically responding to everybody, and every time I get to the end of notifications or whatever of when I woke up, it's like there's another 150. I get through those. All right, there's 90.
right.
I get through those 90. Now there's 60. I get through those. Now there's like 40.
Yeah.
But so and it keeps piling on, and then but once I get through those or whatever, like 3 hours later, stomach's growling, time for breakfast, time for breakfast at 5 p.m. And, and I go make something and make coffee or whatever, start my day.
Let's put it like the drink.
Okay.
If you had to choose, like, if you had to be, life would go on no matter what, be the same. Would you prefer to be doing your things at night or during the day? Like me, like me personally, for example, so maybe you can lean off of it. Between the hours of 4 a.m. to 10 a.m., I hate those hours. Okay. I hate them. Like, the sun rising and birds chirping, nothing would make me happier than to use photon rays out of my freaking eyeballs to kill everything. So, so that is an example. Do you have a preference?
Okay. I don't do simple answers, as you can tell. I'm
an hour and 40 minutes later, I can tell.
Exactly.
That's okay. No, that's okay.
Which I guess is a bad habit. So there you go. There's the answer to your first question.
Yep. There's a bad habit. All right. We're recapping.
We're getting some. Okay, so I would say that from the hours of 4 to 10, I like it if I'm going to be out, if I'm going to be doing something, if I got to go to the grocery store or something. I like those hours. If it's nighttime, I prefer to be awake if I'm out. So I guess if I had to pick one or the other, I'm going to pick nighttime. I would rather be. And
that's all it is. It's not to say, you've elaborated. Everybody understands how you are. You wake up, your life is your life. It don't matter what time it is. I'm just more along the lines of for fun. That's all.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And that's kind of where I was going with it. Was I wake up at whatever time, and then I go through that, and then I go about my day, and then it's time to go to sleep when I fall asleep at my computer, and then I wake up and I'm like, okay, time to go.
Let's go. All right. Let's go ahead, and I got just 2 more little areas, and then we'll be done. Do you have any deep down gaming addictions?
Yeah, I mean, I would say current, no.
Yes. Okay.
I would say current, no.
Okay, then how about past? Let's go ahead and have some fun with it a little bit.
World of Warcraft.
Okay, well, that's just stereotypical.
Absolutely.
I could probably throw a dart into a crowd of people and nail a World of Warcraft player.
Yeah. I mean, it was a bad one, though. It was a
hey, man.
It was a bad addiction. Like, when I said that I'm either 100% in or 100% out.
Yep.
I mean, at one point, I was that was my job.
Yep.
Was World of Warcraft. I was making a real living off of playing World of Warcraft.
I wasn't getting paid, but I should have been.
So, right?
Oh god, that game. That hey, honestly, it was a good game. To make people get sucked in and pull money from their wallets to sit there and play, that's impressive.
Absolutely, yeah. And again, you know, as far as Blizzard goes, I love their business style. I love that, like, I can understand the psychology. I can understand what makes the game addictive. I can understand the ins and outs of it all, and it's so good. They're so brilliant. I really
he says this, and then here's me sitting here thinking, Diablo Immortal.
You know, and that's just it. Is a lot of people don't get it. A lot of people don't get that whole Diablo Immortal
I get it,
thing.
but I don't want to.
It's yeah, and
because I can't play it, you know. But I understand why they did it.
For sure. And that's and for all the people that don't like it and everything, man, they're going to be making a whole lot of money off of it. And trust me, that's just it. Is that it wasn't meant for this audience. It wasn't meant for the audience that.
Bottom line, they just went about announcing it wrong. That's all.
Sure.
But okay. So World of Warcraft. I mean, a lot of people were late with that one. Any others before WoW?
Yeah, you know, actually, I would say Diablo 2. I would say Neverwinter Nights.
There's a good one.
Yeah, you know, Neverwinter Nights, and not the campaign, actually. Online role-playing servers. You know, I really love getting into the, you know, the whole like being a part of the story. That was always really cool. Sure. And I spent a long time playing on those. You know, and usually, I guess when I start playing the game, especially if it's an MMO or something like that, I don't branch out and I don't play other games. Every day I will play that game and no other game. If it, like when I was playing 7 Days to Die and stuff, like it wasn't the game. Yeah, you know, it's just like, all right, well, for the next 300 hours, this is my life. You know,
I got to admit, I have that disadvantage where I was balancing many MMOs. It sucked. Yeah. I haven't played Neverwinter Nights in a long time.
Yeah, they remastered it, and yeah, they re-released it on Steam. It's actually pretty cool. They've got the servers up and running and everything, and there's player-run servers, and yeah, it's pretty neat.
Okay, I got one more, and then we'll go ahead and say goodbye to everybody, because I'm sure 2 hours later they're probably thinking, "Oh my God, shut up!" MMA, that's your past. I mean, it could be your future. I'm not going to say nothing about that, but if you get time, I know, a lot of people know, actually, that you just don't got time. You're a busy ass mofo. What other, quote-unquote, outside the office hobbies or habits do you have? Hobbies, not habits. Like, I know you're not a sports guy. You know, so
yeah. If it's not MMA, I'm not interested.
Like, are you one of those kinds of guys who, if you had $50 in 2 hours, would you go play laser tag? Would you go to an arcade? Would you? What would you do if if that were like a situation, kind of outside the office, you know, so to speak?
Yeah, you know, honestly, I really I like music. I like playing music. I would probably, if it wasn't making games and it wasn't MMA, I would probably put all my money and invest in like a studio. Do
music guy.
Yeah, music. Yeah, I like
Kinky.
metal. I like playing guitar. I'd I'd love to. I had a drum set when I was a kid, but I wasn't big into it and stuff.
Right.
But I would like to be. So yeah, I think I would probably go the music route.
That's actually kind of interesting. That kind of allows a lot of people who are watching to not say judge you, but more so understand you a little bit more. Like, oh, so this guy, okay. So if he doesn't kick the shit out of you, MMA style, he'll make you a beautiful game, or he'll write you a song. Excellent.
There you go.
I don't know. A lot of the MMA people I've actually met have been extremely cool. So.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's because assholes don't make it far.
No.
The thing is that the MMA guys that are all like, oh, I'm an MMA fighter. I do this, and all the shit. Those are the guys that come into the gym and they last about 2 weeks, and they're like, they get their ass beat by every partner that they have, and they think that they're going to be some badass or whatever, and then they get a bruised ego, and then they never come back to the gym again, but they go around saying, oh, I'm an MMA fighter or whatever, and talk all big and stuff. But and that's the thing, though, is that everybody gets their ass beat when they go in there. If you're not getting your ass beat, then you're not in the right place.
Or you're Chuck Norris / Bruce Lee.
Sure, but yeah, man, shit, man. When I started, for the first 9 months, it was nothing but ass beatings. I got my ass beat for 9 straight months. But that's the thing, is the people that stick with it. It's humbling. It trains you. It gives you discipline. It makes you stronger willed, a stronger mind and stuff. The ones that are assholes, they're the ones that tried it for a couple of weeks. They didn't like it, and then but they want to brag about it.
Yeah, and I actually know a couple of them. But again, I also know a couple who legit participated in the big MMA competitions and stuff, and so most of them have actually been legit cool people. So that's kind of one of the things I want to point out. Okay, anyway, personally, I feel good about this. How about you? You got anything else you would like to talk about? No? Yeah.
I mean, give me a topic and I'll always talk.
Yeah, see, that's what I mean. We pretty much kind of covered my cheap little checklist here. I mean, it was literally just kind of a cheap, simple, let's get to know you a little bit kind of thing, and I think we did just that. I mean, I know you a little bit better. I know things about you I didn't before.
Cool.
I mean, I know things better that I already knew. Yeah, it's kind of cool for me, at least. So, if anything, I got something to pull from this.
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I had a good time. It's fun. Good date.
Yeah, good date. Good date. Good date.
Would recommend.
Yep. Kisses over the mail. Well, okay, then I'm gonna go ahead and outro this. If you want to say anything, go ahead. Cut me off or whatever. But
I mean, other than I really do appreciate all the support that everybody's been giving. Like it's obviously it's cliche and silly to say I couldn't have done it without all of you and stuff, but I mean it is literally true.
I'm in the same boat,
and man, there are so many developers out there struggling, and I was one of them, and I still am, but I'm struggling a whole lot less. Metal as Fuck was not a success on its own. It wasn't. It was. There's a whole lot that we haven't really gone into, that went into making sure that Metal as Fuck had the push that it did, and it was a very, very, very tough, hard grind.
I'm glad I found it when I did. It's one of them. If I would have found it when it released, I would have been on it like a fat kid on cake. But before I found Metal as Fuck, I didn't know you. I was the closeted, introverted, less than 50 subs YouTuber who didn't know what the hell he was doing wrong.
And a lot of developers are struggling out there, and it sucks and stuff. There's a lot of developers that are really cool, and they will support each other, and they understand the struggle. There's also a lot of developers that are fucking assholes, and they and instead of helping each other out, they will try and discredit other people in their work, or they will try and put other people down, or because it's easier. It's easier to put other people down than build yourself up and make your own projects successful and stuff. Basically, what I'm getting at is, if you want to support a developer, if you review their games, whatever platform they're on. I'm not saying it doesn't mean you have to go into big long detail. It doesn't mean that you got to make a video about it, or write up a big thing, or do a blog. Or
honestly, look at my reviews compared to a lot of people's on your games. My reviews aren't. I've read some reviews and I'm like, oh man, I feel shitty about my review. But honestly, it's positive.
and that's just it.
That's
You
the
know,
bottom line.
whether it's on mobile or Steam or you know, whatever the platform, if you want that developer to continue making games, leave them a review. Because the thing is think about it like a lot of people I know 100% because I hear it all the time. A lot of people don't understand how it works. You know, think about going into a restaurant. You know, how many people complain about their meal? You know, and how many people are, you know, they send it back, or in this case it would be like a refund, and they say, you know, there's something wrong, I don't like it, versus the number of people that enjoy their meal and then they walk out of there and they're like, that was good. Well, I mean, that's pretty much how gamers are. Not just gamers, but just people in general. They're going to be vocal when there's something to complain about, and if they really liked it, they will come back. So, but they're not vocal about it. How many people actually go up to the chef afterwards and say, "Hey, you know, thank you so much. That was great." You know, not many.
No.
You know,
No.
and that's just it. You know, the statistic is about 1 in 150 people will leave a review, and that doesn't guarantee that it's positive.
Right.
So if you really like something that a developer made,
or something in general.
yeah, or some, yeah, exactly. Yeah, same with YouTube. I mean, same with you know, streamers, YouTubers, everything. Make sure that you not just let them know, not just like the videos, not just subscribe, not, you know, all of those things. That's great and everything. You know, but and that helps. It helps get them out there and stuff. But you know, also write something. You know, take a second. It doesn't have to be a lot. You know, all of those numbers, they matter. Likes, they matter. Subscriptions, they matter. You know,
everything matters. Yeah,
everything. It all adds up, and it's not just because it makes people look at it and they're like, oh, you know, this must be great, or something. This person's got 100,000 subscribers, or this game's got 100,000 reviews. It's not just that. What the other thing is the inner workings of the system and the algorithms. When you leave a review, for example, it will pop up on a whole lot more pages, and that's what I mean by, like, this is how you can support developers.
Yeah.
Financially, it doesn't cost you anything extra to take a moment to leave a review. It doesn't even it doesn't even matter if your review says 10 out of 10 great game, would recommend. That's it.
Yep.
Period.
Yep.
That review just made it pop up on so many more pages and just sold that developer 100 more copies to 100 more people. You know what I mean?
Yep. And 100%.
And it's just one of those things. I think if more people understood how it worked, I think that they would take the time. Because, I mean, for me, for example, I didn't leave any reviews on any games before I started developing.
Yeah.
I didn't know.
I didn't either. Nope. I'm 100% guilty. I've had passion for many games over my life. I've had the opportunity to, you know, this game's fantastic. I like it. You know, so, but I never honestly understood. And that's why it's kind of good that you're pointing this out now at the end of the video, so that people know, you know, it's not just about watch. Like YouTubers. If I wanted to be a partner on YouTube, I need 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 hours of watch time. That's a lot of watch time, you know. If you think about it, that's 4 hours of watch time per subscriber. So it's not just about that. It's about everything else that goes with it. I mean, it really truly is. It's not just creating a game. It's not just streaming. It's everything in between. The people you share it with, the people who they share it with, the people who review it. Hey man, I love this. I kid you not, yesterday I got a comment that made me cry. Best YouTuber ever. Like, I honestly never thought I would read somebody type that out in my channel on a comment, you know? It just was one of those things, like, if I read it, I thought it'd be cool. I never honestly expected it. And then you read it, it's like, you know, you get the, if you're sincere about that, sir, you've just made my day. If you're not sincere, don't tell me that, because you made my day.
And that's right. And that's what's cool about it too. You know, I know exactly what you mean, because it's weird. It's weird because like you may not have ever expected it or something, but you know, like let's say for example, let's say you've got 200, you've got 200 subscribers, you know, and one out of those 200 thinks that you're the best YouTuber.
Yeah.
Now imagine if you had 2,000 subscribers and 10 of them do it.
That's
you know,
right.
200,000 subscribers and no. You know, and that's just it, is that it's a numbers game.
It's
all with everything. It's a numbers game. But that's what's great about it, is that if one person thinks that you're the best at something, it means a whole lot of other people that don't know you exist yet would also think that you're the best.
And that's
you know?
the ones that don't leave reviews, but they have the feelings in them. They know you're awesome. They know your game's good, but they just don't leave the note. But they feel it. I mean, you know, that's ultimately what it kind of comes down to. It really does. Just like the likes to dislikes ratio, you know? Sure, you might get a thumb down, but look how many more thumbs ups you get in comparison. That's where,
Exactly.
you know, if those numbers are a lot closer, then you might actually be doing something wrong. But, you know, that's just it. It helps us. Developers, creators, everything. So,
And that's just it. Is you're never gonna please everybody.
Nope.
No matter what you do.
Yep.
You're always you eventually, you know, you'll always get a thumbs down or a negative review or whatever. You'll never please everybody no matter what. And the reality of the internet is that sometimes those thumbs downs or those negative reviews are simply just trolls, you know.
Yep.
And they're gonna do it, and you can't avoid it, period. They're just gonna do it anyways, you know.
I mean, I know for a fact that YouTube and Twitch, well, I don't know about Twitch. I don't think Twitch has the likes, dislikes thing, but YouTube and, not Twitch. Whatever. There's literally people out there with bots programmed to thumb down and dislike things. It's just inevitable. People are awesome and they also suck. Sorry. Not saying you watch it. All of you watching are probably 9 chances out of 10 awesome. 9 chances out of 10. There's going to be that one. There's always going to be that one. But that's okay. That's all okay. If you accept it, then your life will be fine. Kind of. I don't know. I feel pretty good about this. You all feel good? You guys can't answer me. Do you feel good about it, Crankage?
I do.
Okay. I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up because I actually got an appointment in like half an hour. Take my kid too. So, everybody watching, I hope you all enjoyed this little BS session between Crankage and I. I don't know if I want to call it a podcast. I don't even know what podcast means. What's a podcast?
I don't know.
There you go.
But does anybody really know what it means?
Probably not. They probably just use it. I think what it was is back in before like Twitch was big, people would sit there and just talk. And people would listen. I think that's what it was. But I don't know why they called it a pod. Like it's in a pod, like something like a herd of frogs.
I don't know.
I don't know. Anyway, I hope everybody enjoyed this little bit. If you want a little bit of interaction, if you want more Crankage conversation, or if you want me, Exodus, to interview other developers, I got a couple others that probably would. I mean, I don't know how hard I'd have to twist the knife. I'd probably convince Red Mouse. I could probably convince Anarchy Softworks. He's a pretty solid dude. Very supportive. I mean, and that's what it all comes down to, is developers supporting developers, YouTubers supporting YouTubers, and vice versa.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and that's another one. That's another big one.
Symbiotic relationship. Very much so.
You know, Anarchy making the game suffer. You know, I mean, that guy, he worked on that game for 4 years. 4 years of his life, you know, that he dedicated to it. And not only did he just work on a little bit, he did everything. And
everything, from the music to the game itself.
And that's somebody that really deserves the reviews. He deserves the support. You know, that's one of the people that, you know, that's 4 years of your life that you go through that you're not making money doing what you're doing. So
think about that, anybody listening. 4 years of just imagine 4 years. You wake up, you might have a job or school. I know he does, or he has a wife and kid. But that being said, he's still, over the course of 4 years, he gets 2-3 hours. He sits down at his computer and works, or sits down with his instruments and records music. That's commitment.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's commitment.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. 100%.
Absolutely.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this bad boy up. Hope everybody enjoyed this interview. If you want more, if you got questions, if you want more with questions, that sounded terrible spoken. Everything sounds so much better in my head. If you got more, want more, desire more, let me know. Let Crankage know. We're open books. If you want to know more about me, or if you just want to see what we look like when him and I are talking and playing a random game, I imagine he'd be down for that. We could probably make some pretty funny, messed up jokes. Probably get me in a lot of trouble on YouTube, and it sounds fun.
All the trouble.
All of it. Every last bit.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent. We'll be back again with another podcast, maybe. What? No, I'm just going to call it a podcast. We'll be back with more, I'm sure, in the future, especially if people like it. Want to say goodbye?
Goodbye.
Goodbye. That sounds good. And you all know my tradition. We'll see you next time. Peace. You gotta have the peace, you know. If you don't got the peace, you're not Exodus.
Right.
Actually, I stole that from Eld. Hello, everyone. Exodus here. One more time. Gonna make it quick, I promise. Hope you all enjoyed. If you listened to the whole thing, I totally understand if you watched 15 minutes, went on with your life, came back, watched 20 more, whatever. That was a lot of talking. I mean, 6 hours later, I am now done listening to it over and over and over and fixing it. Oh, it was fun. Anyway, I hope you all enjoyed. I've got so much respect for Crankage Games for giving me this opportunity and for being the person he is. That's why I'm giving this little shout out at the end with my face. You know, look at this ugly face. The light's all bright and I can't see and I'm squinting and I feel... Don't matter. Anyway, the point is, thank you very much for the opportunity. I hope everybody's enjoyed. At this current point, right now, I'm going to go ahead and I'll have stuff popping up all around my little portrait. Like, you know, there's going to be the list of all the games and some logos and whatever. I got editing doing its thing. Where was I going with that? Oh, God, I lost my train of thought. Cricket noise? I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up here. I'm going to let the game finish. This was my fastest playthrough. I played through the whole entire game of Metal as Fuck to use as the background. Tried to cut out all the boring fights to make it fit, and it was still a little bit long. So I'm going to let it go ahead and finish. If you want to keep watching, thank you. I appreciate it. You know, it helps me, and it's a fun game. Not to mention it's fun watching the end boss and the end of the story. So that's it. Thank you again, Crankage Games. Amazing games. I look forward to the future with them. I'm sure everybody else does. All of you watching, thank you. Without all of you, I wouldn't be sitting here doing this. Crankage wouldn't be sitting there making games for you. It's all about everyone. So, thank you, everybody. You all take care. Until next time. Peace.
What?